Few fates are worse than spending years, even decades, in prison for a crime you did not commit. Life grinds to a halt, your freedom is non-existent, family and friends might well abandon you, and you're treated as the lowest of the low, all through absolutely no fault of your own. The more fortunate ones eventually get exonerated, though many tend to retreat into anonymity once they're freed. This was not the case for Jarret Adams, an innocent man convicted of rape and sentenced to decades in prison. He not only learned the law to get himself out of the hole, but he turned that knowledge into a successful law career designed to help people in the same situation he was once trapped in. In 1998, 17-year-old Adams attended a party at the University of Wisconsin and got intimate with one of the women there. 3 weeks later, police showed up at his Chicago home to arrest him for raping the woman. The only problem? Everything about their night together was consensual. Naively, he thought the truth would be enough to set him free. This did not happen. He was sent to Wisconsin for trial and could not afford an attorney. His court-appointed lawyer was incompetent and argued that the best defense was, incredibly enough, no defense. No witnesses, no arguments, no nothing. The idea, this lawyer claimed, was to put the burden of proof on the prosecution. Adams, who at the time knew nothing of the legal system outside from what he saw on shows like Law & Order, went along with it. He figured that since he didn't do it, the courts couldn't prove anything. He hadn't counted on one factor though: racism. Adams was black, the jury was white, and they didn't let a little thing like no evidence stop them from convicting him of rape. The judge, in lockstep, sentenced Adams to 28 years in prison. Of course, Adams was devastated, but he wouldn't rot in his cell for long. His cellmate, who worked at the prison law library, knew his new bunkmate's conviction was racist and urged him to not give up and to fight for his freedom. Adams quickly agreed and spent his time learning everything he could about the law. Eventually, he found a Supreme Court case that affirmed everybody has the constitutional right to effective counsel, something Adams knew he never got during his trial. He contacted the Wisconsin chapter of the Innocence Project, a nonprofit dedicated to fighting for the freedom of the wrongfully convicted. They took on his case, both because it seemed like one they could fight and win, but also because Adams seemed to know as much about the law as they did. This was no longer the same scared kid who trusted the clean outcomes of scripted courtroom dramas. Finally, in 2005, the courts agreed that Adams had bad counsel and his conviction never should have happened. With that, he was a free man, but he was also a changed man. Not content to just disappear with his freedom, he wanted to help others who were wasting away in jail for crimes they didn't do. He enrolled in college shortly after being set free, a journey that culminated in his graduating law school in 2015. In the summer of 2016, he found himself hired by the most appropriate of companies, the Innocence Project. They had helped free him, and now he would get the chance to work with them and help free others like him. The very next year, he scored his first victory. A Wisconsin man named Richard Baranek had been incarcerated since 1990 on a bogus rape conviction. Despite having multiple alibis, an FBI agent insisted his hair was found at the scene. That was enough for the jury to convict. Adams and the Innocence Project proved, using DNA evidence, the FBI's analysis of the hair was incorrect. With that, Baranek was a free man for the first time in 27 years. The victory doubled as personal vindication for Adams, who fought for Baranek's freedom in the same courtroom that had convicted Adams of rape in 1988. As he explained, "Nothing pays me back more, or my family, than me walking in the same court in the same state where they didn't even look at me when they gave me 28 years, but now they have to acknowledge me as Attorney Adams." Adams' fight for the wrongfully convicted continues. He is currently working to fight for 2 Virginian men serving life in prison for the murder of a police officer, even though they were acquitted of the murder. In 1998, Terrence Richardson and Ferone Claiborne were arrested for the shooting of a cop. Both took plea deals that resulted in little to no jail time. Public outrage convinced the FBI to re-arrest them, this time with federal charges of both murder and distribution of crack cocaine. The jury found the pair guilty of distribution, but acquitted them of the murder. However, the judge sentenced them to life in prison anyway, using their initial state-level plea as justification for doing so. Adams, alongside the Innocence Project, is currently looking into documents never shared with the federal court that could clear Richardson and Claiborne's names at long last. When not fighting for people's freedom, Adams is also helping those who have been freed get the help they need to live a real life. As one of the co-founders of the nonprofit Life After Justice, Adams recognizes that most people freed from a wrongful conviction receive nothing from the prisons to help adjust to outside life. He works tirelessly to secure the newly freed things like housing, job training, tech skills, mental and physical health care, financial advice, education, and anything else they need to make it in a world that has, in many cases, completely forgotten about them. Jarret Adams is proof that should you lose everything through no fault of your own, it doesn't mean the end of the world for you. You can bounce back as he did, and not only win your life back, but build an even better one than you had before.